And that's how we destroy a bunch of walls. So, there is something we don't normally realize while playing DST, and that is we have collision with things we come in contact with, meaning we bump into things as we walk into them. Mobs bump into things as well, and they also have times where collision is turned off. You can see this for shadow creatures and flying enemies with walls. However, these creatures don't ignore collisions with entities of the same type. So shadows will block shadows, and flying block flying. The only things that avoid collision checks are birds. They have their own strangeness to them. Maybe that's why Woody hates them. Another thing to keep in mind is creature weights. Certain creatures are easier to push compared to others. Ghosts and rabbits are the easiest to push, giving nearly no resistance, and the heaviest creatures are giants, as well as anything that is in the ground, like moles. It takes a lot of pushing to make them move. The fact that creatures push against each other, and they also push against us, allows us to take advantage of a few things, both in single player and multiplayer, and we are going to take a look at them. First one is creating a mob wall. Mobs can block other mobs from getting to the player, so if you trap mobs inside walls, they can be used to block creatures that normally would just ignore walls. The easiest way to get a line of mobs is to place them in the crevice between diagonally placed walls. Lure the mob you are going to use to block, and repair the broken wall when the mobs are in place. It's probably best to use mobs that won't get aggroed by the creatures you're trying to block. So gobblers and moles work pretty nicely. Keep in mind though that moles need to be above ground for them to have an active collision hitbox. You can maintain them being above ground if you freeze them twice with splingos. The first freeze may glitch them to not have collision, so make sure to freeze them twice. I've done this before with Bunnyman and Bee Queen. She was walled in by all the bunnymen and couldn't push her way past them, and I just kept attacking her. Maybe this is something Wendy's can now do since they patched out the boat strategy. Next is player pushing. This is very simple. Players block each other and they're able to push each other. This can be helpful for moving any heavy objects around, since the speed down does not take into account push forces. You can have a bit of fun with pushing players too. Like if a player falls asleep in a tent, the player is still there, just invisible, and you're able to push them further and further from the tent, and the player will wake up at the spot where you push them to. Same with ghost revivals. When you revive a ghost, you can push them and they will zoom across the land. Next is dealing with an enemy that really hurts players if you're alone, the Ilkus. Normally if engaging this enemy alone, you will go through a lot of pain since you will be constantly stuck by its snot attack. But there is a way around it. If you happen to push the Ilkus and it's doing its snot attack, it can miss the player, allowing for a solo player to easily deal with the Ilkus. Very skillful indeed. And finally something I just learned recently, and that is something to do with rooks. Rooks are very destructive. They charge around and destroy anything that is near them. Many may see these on the surface, and they can be useful for early tree chopping / marble farming. Their charge will destroy anything that's in their path. We can use this charge for our own benefits, but normally we would have to put ourselves in harm's way to be able to utilize them. The Rook's charge attack is very interesting, in that it's not even an attack. It's actually a hitbox that gets activated when the Rook is going a certain speed. You can see how if the Rook is slow enough, the hitbox doesn't start, and it does not destroy anything. The interesting thing is that the charge hitbox can be activated by just pushing the Rook. If the Rook gets pushed fast enough, the hitboxes become active and destroys and damages anything that is to the side of the Rook. A player alone is not fast enough, sadly. You need at least a speed up to be able to push Rooks fast enough to activate this hitbox. This technique works best with a Beefalo since beefs are fast enough to activate it. The front of the Rook does not have an active hitbox while being pushed. Only the side and back hitboxes are active. The side hitboxes only hit mobs, so you don't have to worry about getting hurt while doing this. The most useful thing you can use this for is raiding the ruins when you're on a Beefalo. Normally raiding ruins with the Beefalo is very tedious. You have to constantly get on and off to mine and break things. Luckily, after clearing a few clockworks, you can search for a Rook pile and repair them with 3 gears to get a friendly Rook. With this, you don't even need a pickaxe or a hammer to clear all the statues in the ruins. This new information about how the Rook's charge works is actually very interesting, because it helps players lower the amount of damage friendly mobs take, particularly Abigail. If you're playing as Wendy, normally Abby takes around 200 damage from Rooks, because she would always get hit by the side charge hitbox. But if Abby is directly targeted, she only gets hit by the 45 damage regular hitbox. You can help Abby out with this by getting between her and the Rook to make sure that Abby is not in the side hitbox taking the 200 damage. You can also combine this with Wolfgang's coaching to create a 400 damage ram against enemies, which is certainly something. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I got the Ilka's trick from the DST Speedrunners Discord. They do lots of challenges and such and have lots of skilled players. I am always impressed to see how these people do their runs. I am not much of a speedrunner myself, but check out their runs and maybe even join in for a few tournaments. Till next time, this has been Tara, and take care.